Welcome to the Big Brilla Podcast, proudly the biggest Mississippi Brilla FC podcast in the world. I'd like to remind you that, as always, Big Brilla Podcast is proudly brought to you by the Taylor Group with Keller Williams Realty. Both Scott and Amanda Taylor, they are from the Clinton area and they take pride in walking beside both first-time home buyers and seasoned home buying veterans. Put the Taylor Group of Keller Williams to work for you. Call Scott 601-460-4868. You can email him at scott.taylor@kw.com. Just visit their website, thetaylorgroup.co. That's thetaylorgroup.co. It will be a valuable thing for you to do that. My name is Robert Chapman, and this past week, Mississippi Brilla FC welcomed two teams from Tennessee for their first ever matchup against both Memphis FC and the Jackson Boom over in Jackson, Tennessee. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I put brackets around the four matches of Hattiesburg FC and Little Rock on the road and Memphis and Jackson at home, calling for a desired 12 points, nothing less than 9, and I would accept 7. Well, that request did not get answered like I was hoping, but the drive and the discipline from the boys in blue remained consistent through all four heavy matchups, and even probably to this very minute, if we're going to be honest. I've already touched on Brilla's trip to Hattiesburg and the matchup against Little Rock in the last episode. Those are two matches that Brilla dropped that they really kind of wish they hadn't, but it is what it is. It was the head-to-head fray with Memphis that I was looking forward to, if we're going to be honest. Memphis is a team that on paper, they did not have the strongest resume coming into the match, only having 2 wins, 2 draws to their name. But the 3-1 win over Hattiesburg that they had before playing Mississippi Brilla FC had them kind of moving in the right direction. It made them dangerous. And that's what gave me pause. I knew that Wednesday night that game was not going to be a cakewalk and it would require all 90-plus minutes to get the win. An early goal from Gian Filizola put Brilla up 1-0, but Memphis answered back 4 minutes later and it was 1-1. Brilla responded by pressing hard and gained a goal off of the feet of the Memphis defender, Scott Cheevers. I would like to take this minute to let you know that we are 3 hours apart right now, so I feel safe saying anything about Cheevers and bringing this up because it was an own goal. And Cheevers is he's a sizable fella. He's a hoss, if you will, and I don't want him coming after me. One heck of a defender, but he could take care of my 41-year-old self very easily, so I made sure that we had some distance between us before I brought this up. That unfortunate touch for him was very beneficial for the home team. Now, before the halftime whistle, Memphis answered back, leaving the match tied 2-2. Memphis's Matisse scored his second goal of the night 13 minutes into the second half, followed by a red card for Brilla's Gage Sorey because he got 2 yellow cards 4 minutes apart. It looked pretty dire for the home team, but a goal by Kareem Gegg evened the score up, and that's how it was finished.
I'm super happy. I mean, it's been 3 or 4 weeks now since I've been injured, and I played half an hour last game. I felt good, and I'm very happy to play 90 minutes this game, and I'm very happy to help the team. Fortunately, we couldn't get the result we wanted. We drew this time, but I think we played a really good game. We created a lot of chances, and we move on to the next game on Saturday, and I hope we play better and get a win next time. We have a great team mentality that shows a lot. I mean, I think we were down a man, and then we scored the third goal. I don't even remember, but that just shows how much we stick together and how much of a team we are, not even off the field, but also on the field. And even with 10 men being a goal down, we just fight and want to win. And I think you could already also see that on the field. So, yeah, great team.
In the goal that night for Brilla was the young Jamie Duran, who said that matches like this have helped him grow, facing older, larger, more experienced players, requiring more from him between the sticks.
Well, I mean, you can't be a goalkeeper if you're not lucky. That's one thing. That's one main thing. You always see that's always been said in professional commentary as well. But it's just repetition. That's always, you see it in practice multiple times, like way too many times. So when it happens in the games, you're prepared. I mean, I came back from injury, so it was kind of weird my first session, but everybody was so welcoming, especially Luca. He has my full blessings. He's been extremely important for me here. Tactically, I guess coming out for air balls, it's kind of scary coming out, especially people older and bigger than you. Reactions, and especially those shots from very close, they just here in practice and in games, they just hammer it at you or right next to you. So that's my goal, is just perfecting my reactions and my decision making, especially.
The match against the Jackson Boom this past Saturday was another match against a team that on paper, it didn't look like they were bringing much, but in person, it was a different story. Jackson scored in the first 15 minutes after catching Brilla a little flat. But Julian Recalde scored his first of 4 just 3 minutes later. In what seemed like a match where the boys would be able to settle in and handle business, a red card was issued to Juan Diego Corral from the 4th official, shaking up the game plan a little bit and catching everybody off guard. Before halftime, however, Julian picked up the second and the third goal of the night, getting him a hat trick, leaving Brilla with a 3-1 lead going into the half. It looked as if Brilla was the team playing with an extra man, leading to another Julian Recalde goal just over the hour mark in the second half. He said that it was really a true team effort, and he said that nothing can be done by one person. It was always done by the team.
No, definitely it was not an individual effort. It was all the team job. Like we put all the effort together. They have all 4 assists. It was not an individual goal. So this goal of all 4 goals is collective. It's not individual. Our coach Mike told us to change a little bit the formation and go to the counterattacks. And I think we did an amazing job. We hold a little bit in defense, go to the counterattacks, and we did a very, very good job. Yeah, just training every practice with the team. We are every practice making shoots and practice finishing. So that helps a lot to shoot with the left, with the right.
There are a ton of players who deserve some credit for the 4-1 win, like goalkeeper Elliot Duffy, who ended up lending his skills to assist in the back line after going a man down. We joked on the broadcast that he might play the 1 position, but we've renamed it the 1.5 spot. He was there as a defender and as the goalkeeper. As usual, you got Gabriel Sa, Gonzalo Sabe. They were instrumental to the progression of the match, with Victor Willems getting quality touches and making quality runs. Julian Diaz also should get a little bit of extra credit, holding down that center defensive spot kind of by himself after that unfortunate red card. But then there's also Gian Filizzola, who was killer on the sides and on the wings, feeding the ball into spaces that allowed for goals to be scored. The intentionality of Coach Mike Azira's training sessions, they're starting to pay off as the team reaches the last 4 matches of the season.
Yeah, as a left back, I cannot stay in front of the goal or very close to the goal, so I try help from the back to help my teammates, help Julian to score, so that's my job as a left back. Before the ball comes, I already think about what I'm going to do. I just always with the heads up, looking for what I can do with the ball before the ball comes to me, and then I can find the better pass, the better option to play. Heinz was very good for me. I could adapt from college soccer in America, and WSL 2 play for Brilla is helping me to adapt more from higher levels of soccer, go to the 2 college, that's where I'm going, and it's helping me to adapt how the plays, the quick, how soccer is intense in America.
As usual, Coach Will Nations helped me walk through some of the technical aspects of the match, putting the remainder of the season in a little bit of perspective. I've really started enjoying these Sundays that we kind of meet up right here. We usually do this 4:30 after a Saturday match. I get a nap after church and all the kind of stuff. But Coach Will Nations, it's good to see you. How's your Sunday been?
It's been good, Robert. Glad to join you. And yeah, it's kind of become ritual at this point in time during the summer to jump on with you at 4:30. Been a good Sunday. Again, watching World Cup soccer has been the task almost every day, and just kind of enjoying a little Sunday cleanup around the house and just kind of getting everything squared away, ready for the next week.
So this week has been a little bit different than some of the other ones that we've had. We had two matches that were kind of cram into one, but it's the Tennessee swing. We've seen, we got to experience a really, really talented Memphis team that came down that didn't necessarily have everybody that we were expecting to see, Miller, Lashley, but they were deep and they had a really good team. And then we got to see a Jackson Boom. So we'll start real quick with that draw that we had against Memphis. First thing that we noticed that you pointed out when we were in the booth was just a different formation that we were kind of exploring. We had that 3-5-2. I think we handled it fairly well until we didn't. I mean, that's kind of how it always goes. What all did you see inside that match right when it started off?
Yeah, against Memphis, this week we kind of saw us play really 4 different formations, 2 out of necessity and 2 that we actually turned in on a team sheet. But that first game against Memphis this week had us in a 3-5-2, which was really dynamic moving forward. I think it really exploited, even though we were not necessarily in the numbers on the flank, I think it exploited Memphis when we were attacking down the flank, and it allowed people like Philosola and Sa to really dominate their flanks going forward. However, Memphis, when in the transitions, caught us off a few times and were able to kind of sneak in 2 goals in the first half from their right flanks, crossing the ball in and getting goals off of that. But a lot of our play benefited from that 3-5-2. And I think Micah Zero was really trying to kind of spice things up a little bit with that 3-5-2 to allow us a little bit more of an opportunity to go forward. Since we came into that match with only 1 goal in 180 minutes, I think there was a bit of a idea of let's spice it up a little bit. Let's change it. Let's make it look a little different tonight. At halftime, we switched back to our normal 4-3-3 with the introduction of Victor Wilhelms. And then not too long after that, we're down a man, and we had to kind of batten down the hatches a little bit. But I think we scored. I think Gegg said it in the interview with you after the match that we scored after that red card to tie it back at 3-3. So that was an exciting match. 2 great opponents playing each other, debutantes, Memphis FC, but a team with rich history, or at least on the club level, youth level, and also a city that's got a lot of soccer history that people don't maybe know or very familiar with.
Well, you're getting to see, you mentioned some names, and to being this deep inside the season, we get to hear the same names kind of pop up, the ones that are kind of the major players. You've got the Gabriel Sa of the world. You've got the Julian Recaldes of the world, and those 2 teamed up and very much, started that off with that 1-0 lead. But then Memphis again answering right back just 4 minutes later to tie things up. And then, again, Brilla goes up 2-1, and then Memphis goes up 2-2, and then you've got at the half, Brilla had a little bit of a change because Memphis changed out their keeper, so it was you weren't shooting on the same guy that was there, and then with that red card, you're exactly right, like you said with Gegg, they scored after the red card because Brilla got down 2-3. And then they had to claw their way back. It was definitely not the match result they wanted. They wanted those 3 points. They wanted that victory. But then, even kind of going back, looking at the notes that I have on my computer up here, the 1 goal in forever. I mean, the last time they scored prior to that Memphis game on June the 24th was June the 14th. It was 10 days before. And the first time that they'd had a plethora of goals was on the 3rd. It was really at the beginning of the month. So coming in and seeing these minutes that they got, I think that they maximized their ability, but then they also were proven how good Memphis is. And then they came in, and they'll get to see them again kind of coming up. But then we kind of get, the flip the switch. We go into the weekend. It was a good showing with our community showing up when Brilla hosted the Jackson Boom, and that one was kind of more in the wheelhouse. They went right back to a 4-3-3, but then they also got into card trouble right there. Tell me a little bit about what you saw going into the Jackson Boom match.
Well, so and you mentioned Memphis's trajectory is going upwards, as we saw going into that match. The first 3 matches for them, 1 point out of a possible 9, and then having picked up 8 points now after playing us on Wednesday, they were kind of free-flowing, willing to bring the game to us as much as we were willing to bring the game to them. Then on Saturday, it's a completely different picture as the Jackson Boom was set up in a 4-3-3 that really turned into a 5-4-1 low block. We had a load of possession in our back line, and what we had to do was, again, find the flanks because they compacted the middle, and we just had to just overthrow numbers down the left and the right flanks. And, of course, as I've mentioned earlier, Phil Izzola is one of those guys who has the ability to be very aggressive down his left flank. He's also extremely good on the ball and makes great decisions. And we saw time and time again numerous combinations between Sabe and Recalde down that left flank. Even Gegg got involved several times during the second half. But to go down 1-0, you give up a free kick early in the first half and just well executed. Some could argue maybe a VAR check would have ruled it offsides, but a effective free kick from Jackson Boom, ineffective defensively for us. Usually, like you said, if there's an effective free kick, sometimes there's a kind of breaking coverage, which is 100% true. Somebody didn't mark up or just kind of somebody switched off for just the right amount of time to allow them to execute. But that's what Jackson was going for Saturday was that free kick. They got what they wanted. But again, this team, resilience, they're going to have to put it on a T-shirt or maybe at the end of the season. They're going to probably be a buzzword for them is resilience. And what about Julian Recalde starting a 4-goal night almost 4 minutes after that free kick goal for Jackson Boom? And it started with Victor Willems and our right flank making an outstanding pass beautiful diagonal into space. Recalde, cool as a cucumber, puts it away. But then just nightmare situation again where a red card is issued to a Brilla player. This time, somebody that's extremely important to our mission coming down the stretch, Juan Diego Corral, picking up a red card that, again, VAR, questionable. We could dive into that as much as possible, but Recalde picks us back up, puts us up 2-1, scores before halftime, and then adds that fourth in the second half. What a night for him. What an outstanding addition that we've gotten that we didn't have early in the season to be and to be where we are now, even without him early in the season, just makes us even stronger right now at this point. Julian Recalde, outstanding player. And then I'll say this too, we've been kind of playing musical chairs with our goalkeeper, which is unusual for a team that has had as much success as we have had, which we've talked about our depth. So Duran and Duffy both getting starts, Duran against Memphis, and then Elliot Duffy against Jackson Boom, both did an outstanding job in my opinion. That's not the position anybody necessarily is itching to play. I think you talked to Duran after the game, you almost have to be a little crazy to want to play that goalkeeper position and brave. And I think, he did a great job. He's a younger goalkeeper, more fresh out of high school than a lot of people. So he's just learning, the ins and outs, speeds of the game. And I thought he did fine in the 3-3 draw. And then obviously Elliot Duffy did a great job as a goalkeeper, but also as our 1.5 back, helping us build out a play there. So I really think, I just, and I'll sing the praises. I obviously, sky blue tinted lenses that I look through, but we have so many players that even if they're not playing in a natural way or maybe a familiar position, they've done a great job. Like Victor Willems in both games, usually plays on the right wing, subbed on in the second half, and then all of a sudden we have a red card. Well, now he's playing right fullback. And then against Jackson Boom, 23 minutes in, red card. Now you're not playing right wing anymore, Victor. You're coming back and playing more of a right midfielder, defensive right winger, and does an outstanding job doing it. I mean, he just, a very level-headed young man that just able to just kind of see the situation and play into it. So, there's several people that have just done a good job of just kind of, I think chameleon maybe, just kind of blending in with the situation that they're given, and just getting the job done. And even though we didn't get 6 points like we hoped for at the start of the week,
right,
you still got 4 points and you put yourself in a pretty strong position.
Well, I like the fact that, so you and I have a background in education, and we've both taught in middle school and in high school. So when we got to that high school realm, we knew the expectations of what the kids should have education-wise coming up from that middle school area. And I kind of think the same analogy can be drawn to these players. When you're playing, sometimes you'll be defender, sometimes you'll be midfield, Gabriel Saw, Victor Willem, and then sometimes you'll go in and play up top. There's the expectations that you know what the other position should be doing. So now, how can I complement? How can I move about? How can I make those adjustments? I did talk to Coach Azira at the end just to ask him some questions, and I tried to steer clear of officiating discussion, and so we didn't get into the discussion. But he did say very calm and collectively that these players have to respect the calls that the referees make, and one way or another, you make the adjustment. And it was like we've said on here many a time about the man in the arena. He said the same thing basically, and said, you have to find the collection. You have to find the information. You have to move forward based off of the information they give you, and kind of adjust with it. So the way that they did that, I get it. His ability to coach those young men through such a tumultuous time when it's very easy to get emotional and move into that, I think that's very, very good. It's such a cheap word to use, good, but it's so valuable for these kids. And then, the quotes that I got from the guys, all they do is sing the praises of each other. It shows the maturity of a well-qualified team that is really cinched together. None of it was an individual effort. And then you mentioned Gegg earlier. He was like the Hulk. I mean, he was just Marshawn Lynch the entire time, beast mode, going through the middle of the Memphis defense. And then when the Jackson Boom game shows up, he's playing more of a traditional center striker position, and they're not needed in that middle because they're compacting their defense more. So we're exploiting the wings more. And it's just good to see how when it's their time to be called and step up, they do that. And then when it's time to play support staff, they do that very well for each other.
Yeah, and it's reading the game. Yeah, it's reading and seeing where you're needed, and you're exactly right. I think Julian Ricalde would be the first one to tell you that he doesn't score those 4 goals without the other men on the field with him. He doesn't get played certain types of passes or well-weighted passes. He's not scoring 4 goals. He's done some individual brilliance, in those goals as well. However, to get there into that situation, it starts with your teammates. We've talked about this is not a marathon. This is really maybe like a 200 meter, sprint at the track meet. And as quickly as this team has come together in 8 games, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts, but I just really am, enjoying this summer of soccer, and to see us, really come together and work through so many tumultuous situations. And that goes back to Coach Azira, realizing we can't be emotional. We have to kind of, I hate to use the word flatline, but we just have to kind of not ride the waves, but be the foundation. Yeah. And just and stay solid and not just kind of go where the wind takes us. Because it's very easy in those situations when you get a red card that's could be questionable, that you kind of lose your hat for a little bit. But then to score within 4 minutes of that incident, you have to just tip your cap to Coach Azira and the whole staff with Brilla.
It goes back to the one of the first episodes of this season where I got to talk to him about being a player, and he talks about not being too high, not being too low, and staying right in that middle position of being aware, not letting somebody rile you up, and not being engaged in the game. It's the same thing he's doing here as a coach. He's not getting too riled up. He's not getting to out of the game. He's keeping everybody, like you said, a flat line, but it's in that good bell curve and those proper standard deviations. One of the things that I talked to Julian Recalde at the end of the match was about his ability to finish on those shots. We said on the broadcast that it looks a lot like time stands still, and he knows exactly where he's putting the ball. And he says they practice finishing a lot with both feet. But the same thing was said by Philozola, that before he gets the ball to lay off for an assist or anything, he's observing the field, knowing where he's going to go. And so I like that you're getting to see the value of what's going on the training grounds pay off in the match in a season that's so compressed that they don't get a lot of training at the beginning. So you're getting to see the difference in the beginning and the end of the season.
Exactly. And we talked about this off air before about how, as a coach, my match day is really more so the training sessions that are put together throughout the week. And then when it gets to match day, it's up to the players to, like Philozola talking about scanning, seeing what the pitcher is, and then painting with his brush to create an impact on the game. And I even shouted out Philozola during the game. We didn't score on this incident, but he did a great job of whipping across in and then continuing his off-the-ball run to create a more compact space in the 18-yard box. Ends up winning as a corner kick because he didn't just stay out on the flank or outside the 18. He actually kept his run going after he plays a cross in that, a lot of young players may not necessarily have that IQ to realize, let me compress this space after I've played this ball and try and get involved on anything that gets loose so I can maybe put it on frame. So, yeah, he's 100% right. Slowing down the game, scanning, seeing what is given to you. It's kind of like a good quarterback at maybe an Army or a Navy running the triple option.
That's right.
And just kind of see, and that's really what it comes down to. I think when you start with young players, you always tell them you have options. What are your three options? Well, I can pass, I can dribble, I can shoot. Okay. In this instance, what's the pitcher showing you? Okay, what should your reaction be? And obviously, we're not talking pass, dribble, shoot with these college level players, but it still kind of comes back to that basic concept. What have we taught you? And how can you apply this in the 90 minutes that we have of this match?
So we got 4 matches moving forward, 1 more at home. That won't be until July the 8th. But we've got 2 on the road going to visit Memphis and Jackson Boone, respectively. Memphis will be on the 30th, which will be a Tuesday. And then 4th of July, they get to celebrate on the road against the Jackson Boone, playing in Jackson, Tennessee, before that, again, that homestand last match here against the LA Crew, which is going to be extremely valuable, and then going to Red River. So, we looked at the numbers of the standings before, and you got Little Rock up top, LA Crew, Red River, and then Brilla. And Brilla and Little Rock are the 2 that have the least amount of games. So they both have 4 more matches to go, whereas Red River only has 2 left because they've played 10 so far. So getting these points moving forward, especially in a summer season where looming ahead is, okay, we got to get back to our schools to go play for the fall. We got to get ready for all of that. What is the push for these next 4 matches? What's the mindset to close out? Because they talk about closing in the match and closing to score those goals, something we couldn't do last season, something we've done very well this season. How do you close out this season on the right foot?
I think you saw it this week. You had just dropped 2 matches back-to-back, one against Hattiesburg, one against Little Rock. And very easily, like you said, we're losing some players here or there, and all the teams are experiencing the same callbacks from college teams, whether they're Division I, Division II. And I think you saw what Brilla's response is going to be, which is going to be, we're going to continue to hunt for points, because at the end of the day, and it's like we tell our high school players too, coaches pay attention to teams that win. And so even though we're not a very individually driven team, we all know that even just making a good finish in the Mid-South Division could mean somebody else coming and looking at you, whether that's a USL 1 team or a USL championship team, and even as far as the MLS team. And so I think we're going to see a massive push, I think, towards the end with whoever's remaining. And we've had it all season, good depth. So whether we have somebody have to go back to their regular team, I think we're going to have a good push. And you couldn't ask for a better finish to the schedule, and you control your destiny. If we can pull 6 points from Memphis and Jackson Boom here in the 4th of July week, then you got a really nice setup to where LA Crew is a team that's 2 spots ahead of you. Maybe you pull 3 points off of them, and then you go to Red River over at Bossier City off Airline Drive, and maybe you pull a point or maybe get all 3 from them. I think looking at the numbers, I think 10 points potentially could be the magic number.
Could be.
You talk about divisional baseball, you're hunting for a divisional title. We just need to finish in second if we want to make the playoffs. And I think that is going to be the goal. I think Mike in his 3rd year, I think he's kind of wanted that. I think, that he wants to be able to say, I've reached the playoffs, which a lot of coaches at Mississippi Brilla haven't been able to say. It's been a while since we've been there. And I think Mike is very driven for a team that he played for and a team that he's very loyal to.
You're exactly right. Well, Will, I appreciate your time. And as always, it's been a lot of fun. We'll keep up with the matches on the various streams. Memphis puts out a very, very, very good production. So we will watch that, and then we'll see how they do with the Crew before they come back home, and we'll finish out our homestand. I hope you have a great week this week, and I will see you down the road.
Yes, I'll see you, Robert. I appreciate you having me on.
Looking at the table, both the total points and the points per match, they're lining up. So we can do this just from straight points. At the top is Little Rock with 22 points. They have 4 matches remaining in the season, so there are 12 points that they are chasing. The Louisiana Crew is behind them with 16 points and 3 matches remaining. And then right on their heels is Red River in 3rd place with only 15 points, and they only have 2 matches remaining in their season. Brilla has 12 points just behind them and 4 matches to go, which is also 12 total points that they can get that are kind of floating in the ether. So they are very valuable, to say the least. Hattiesburg also has 12 points, but their points per match number is slightly a little bit smaller than Brilla, like think 1.50 and 1.33. That's what places them in 5th place right now. Memphis is in the penultimate spot with 9 points, but they play at a much faster clip, and Brilla will see them again. The Jackson Boom, they are still looking for their first points, and as I've contended all season long, they may play spoiler, so the remainder of their schedule better play soundly. The Boom would like to blow up someone's chances at greatness. I hope you see what I did there. For Brilla, there are 4 matches left, 3 on the road and 1 at home. The boys travel to Memphis on Tuesday, June the 30th, followed by a trip to Jackson, Tennessee on the 4th of July. Brilla hosts the Louisiana Crew for the final home match on Wednesday, July the 8th, the day after my mom's birthday, by the way. And they close out the season on the road at Red River down in Bossier City. We will be, we'll kind of be talking playoff talk when we get towards those final matches, but we'll see what it looks like. But right now, the name of the game is finish. We've seen that we can finish in games, finish the season with purpose, much in the same way that Julian Recalde finished those 4 goals this past Saturday. Thanks, as always, for Will Nations, for his time and for his insights into the season so far. I'm hoping this week gives me a little bit of time to look at the local talent that has made its way onto the roster. I just think it would be really cool to get a glimpse inside the brains of the kids who have grown up playing with Brilla Juniors, or as we call them sometimes, Little Brilla, and they're now playing with Big Brilla. Follow this podcast on all the socials at Big Brilla Pod, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at Big Brilla Pod. Follow, like, share, help us grow. We're getting new followers on the regular. I've gotten to meet several people who I've met only online. Some of our parents of our players who have traveled from other countries have come up, and it was very, very nice getting to meet them. Luca, I'm talking about your dad. He's a really good dude. Anyway, I'll see you on the live streams at the final home match and down the road right here on the Big Brilla Podcast. Be sure to cheer for the boys in blue, and as always, up the Brilla.